After a while, the group of hunters reached some sort of cave. It was unknown if this was the route they were looking for. However, one thing was certain, it stank very badly. The smell was so strong that the whole group had to cover their noses with their hands. The reason for this was the huge piles of monster poop that were scattered all over the cave. The girl who had checked the route before was surprised by this because when she saw this place for the first time, there was no such thing. By the way, if you haven't watched the previous episodes yet, please be sure to catch up on those first. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Chung Jai, the archer, noted that the poop looked fresh, which meant that it had been installed recently. The mage girl in their group, named Sarah, immediately suggested changing the route and taking a different path. Luo Feng, on the other hand, had a different opinion on the matter. If the jungle monster was deliberately trying to force them to choose a different path, then most likely the other path was more risky. That was why he decided to keep moving on this one. He immediately ordered the others to clear the road for him. As it turned out, Lin Tian had been watching them the entire time. Despite his expectations, the group of hunters continued to advance. It looked like his trap was too obvious. The plan wasn't working. However, that wasn't a problem since he could still take it slowly. It was time to proceed to Plan B. The cute mushroom sitting on his shoulder was also ready to put up its best effort. Speaking of mushrooms, they lived in clans. They could be found absolutely everywhere in the jungle. Although they looked harmless, they were very useful to the jungle. Their initial skill, growth, allows them to freely travel underground and easily help our hero to explore the valley. Lin Chen had to go through a lot of trouble to increase his popularity and get the mushrooms to be so favorable to him. He even ate the mushroom feast they prepared for him. After gaining the deep friendship and favor of their king, he received help from dozens of mushroom tribes, including the mushroom he had on his shoulder. There were several kinds of mushrooms in total. The first was the purifying one, whose function was to purify the air of odors. The other kind of mushrooms were stink mushrooms. They were huge in size and could emit unpleasant substances and odors. This was the mushroom that our hero used. Now it was time for the official battle. It was time to hunt. And for a successful hunt, he had everything ready. The key role was to be played by excitement mushrooms, which specialized in giving off a pungent odor to drive monsters crazy. Even a single mushroom could drive a pack of monsters crazy, and a group of them could drive a small area of the jungle into madness. As soon as the spirit wolves smelled this odor, they immediately just broke off the chain and rushed in search of any living prey. Soon a group of hunters managed to pass this poop cave. Even though they didn't have to fight, they still didn't look very good. There were many complaints. However, Luo Feng immediately ordered everyone to shut up, because according to the map, it should have been safe after this area. However, that was only supposed to be the case. In fact, at the very next moment, one of the guys pointed at something in front of him in bewilderment. It was a small light that was visible from behind a bush, but the guy was experienced enough to know what it meant. There was a look of horror on his face. In the next moment, he started to run away from the pack of furious spirit wolves with panicked screams. The safe zone mentioned on the map was not so safe anymore. But even in such a situation, Luo Feng was not confused. In his opinion, these were just a few low-level monsters that must have accidentally gotten here. There was no need to worry. However, after a moment, it turned out that there were more wolves than they thought. Dozens of spirit wolves began to appear from the forest. This could already be a problem. Moreover, there were more than just wolves among the monsters that had appeared. This was very strange. The hunters only had one question. Why were all kinds of monsters gathering here and attacking them? But Luo Feng already knew the answer to this question. This couldn't happen by itself, from which it could be deduced that someone had clearly trapped them. Things were getting very bad. There were too many monsters. Realizing that they couldn't cope, Luo Feng ordered everyone to retreat. The hunters desperately started trying to escape. Few managed to do so, as the monsters had killed most of the group in the meantime. However, those who managed to escape were also in for a surprise. Suddenly, a huge mushroom appeared in the air, which was approaching the ground at a great speed. Unfortunately, it didn't fall on top of them and crush them. The purple pheromones it released scared the monsters and made them run away in panic. The surviving hunters were very surprised by this. At one point, they even thought they had been saved. But that was far from the case. In the next moment, a silhouette of a man appeared in the fog, and then they heard a voice asking them if they remembered him. Everyone present froze in place from shock. They knew that voice very well. There was a smile on our hero's face that was even more like a villainous smile. In any case, he was glad. Very happy that he could finally get his revenge. Lynchen himself appeared in front of them, and he had purposely removed his mask so that they would recognize him well. Despite his new appearance and his changed traits, the man called Lynchen was still recognizable in him. The hunters were shocked to see him alive and realize what a dangerous situation they were in. They immediately started to justify themselves, saying that it was not their own idea to kill him, and it was the company's fault. It was the company that made them do it. They begged for mercy so pitifully that Lin Chan even pretended to believe them for a second that it was just their job. But they soon signed their own death warrant when they decided that his hesitation was their chance to attack. And the rest of the group rushed at our hero, shouting, "Go to hell, you monster!" How naive these idiots were. With their actions, they signed their own death sentence. Even if before they said that it was just a job, with their actions they showed that it was a lie. One moment he leaped like lightning between the silhouettes of the attackers, killing them all instantly. Those weaklings didn't stand a chance. And now that they were lying in the mud, no personal grudge against our hero could help them. Immediately after their elimination, there was a notification from the system regarding the progress in the mission of hunting intruders. Thanks to the killing of these 4 hunters, he has already completed 40% of the mission and has already received an intermediate reward of 400 jungle points. In addition to jungle points, Lin Chan had also raised his level to 11, and looking at the scattered bodies, he realized that he was wrong when he thought he would hesitate when he had to kill people. Now he was sure that he no longer had any feeling that he belonged to the human race. And now, thanks to the points he received, he was able to accumulate 500 points in total. However, it still wasn't enough. It was a real pain in the ass to accumulate those points, and they still weren't enough to unlock the flying skill. Still, it was good that he had some useful allies like these mushrooms. With their help, he was able to not only successfully wear hunters down, but also divide them internally. Now it was time to return to the Darkstone Forest again, because the General Goblin was a bit of a handful. It was time to get to Plan C. Meanwhile, in the Darkstone Forest, one of the goblins was on his way to report to his general. His news was very urgent. A lot of hairless monkeys, so-called humans, had come and killed all the brothers outside the valley and broke in. Such news did not please the goblin general. Once again, he was distracted from his rest by those annoying humans. Again, they came from behind the Helen Butterfly clan. It was time to deal with them himself. After all, the king's plan is not yet complete, and they can't let those hairless monkeys get close to the eucalyptus tree. The entire goblin army must follow him and kill all the intruders. And thus, this chapter draws to a close. Stay tuned to discover what unfolds next in the story. In the meantime, why not explore my other videos? Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more captivating stories. Your support means the world to me.